What's up, everybody, and welcome to Killing the Investing Game. For today's edition of Stock Market 101, we are covering moving averages. So a moving average is a technical indicator that shows the average price of an asset over a given period of time. So as you can see here, I'm going to pull up the moving averages here in Webull. We've got the 200-day, which is represented by the orange line, the 50-day represented by the blue line, and the 10-day represented by that green line there. So those are probably the three most common moving averages that people use when investing and kind of analyzing stocks and analyzing charts. So moving averages are mainly used to identify trends either up or down. So they're meant to sort of simplify what you're looking at in terms of the candlesticks here into more of kind of a smoother line as opposed to the jagged up and down of the candlesticks. So if a current price of a stock crosses over a short-term moving average, up or down, it represents a short-term trend. And similarly, if the current price crosses over a long-term trend, like the 200-day or maybe the 50-day moving average, then it represents more of a long-term trend. So if a short-term trend, an example of like the 50-day moving average here, crosses over the 200-day. So if we go back here to, looks like about June 5th, give or take, 2020, we have our 50-day moving average crossing the 200-day moving average. So most people see that as kind of a catalyst or a moment that really represents something big, because we have movement that is strong enough that in the short term we have the stock moving up enough to cross a longer period of time moving average like the 200-day. So if a short-term moving average crosses a longer term, it usually is seen as a confirmation of a solid trend. In this case, confirmation of an uptrend. That being said, if we go right back here to April 20th, give or take, we have the same thing happening, but in the opposite direction, where the 50-day moving average crosses down. Now, the only reason that happened was because we had this dramatic fall here. But in most cases, when we have a somewhat stable market, the 50-day crossing the 200-day usually is going to represent a solid upward trend or downward trend if that's the direction that it's heading. So moving averages are also used as support and resistance lines. So as you can see, a lot of times they tend to be kind of bounced on. So like right here, we have a bounce off the 50-day. As we really have this sharp fall here, we bounce off the 200-day here. So very clearly investors were watching this line. Had it broken through that, then our short-term 10-day moving average would have also crossed, and that would have been a real sign that we're having a strong downward trend. So it did act as support here. And then as you can see, we're just kind of bouncing along the 50-day here, bouncing again on the 50-day, and it looks like we're about to bounce again on the 50-day. So now again, if we cross down below the 50-day, that's more confirmation of a strong downward trend. So investors and traders like to use the moving day averages as one of their tools in their toolbox. You can see the RSI down here as well, which we won't cover today, but moving averages are a common thing that traders use to analyze charts and to kind of get an idea of where they think the stock might be going. Now, the last thing that I want to mention is that moving averages, much like any of the other indicators that we have here, are all lagging indicators. So nothing is forward projecting. You know, we can look at these lines, you know, back here and see a 2020 picture, right? But if we go here, we've got the 10-day above the 50-day and above the 200-day. So usually in that kind of formation, we've got an upward trend. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to happen. So can we forecast the future? No. But typically having the 50-day moving away from the 200-day does represent an upward trend. So many people do think that we would continue this upward trend. Is that going to happen? Who knows? So that's moving averages. I hope that helps, and I will see you guys soon.